Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Botello, and I am here in my home office in Palm Springs, California. And today I'm here to introduce you to a new webinar series that I am producing in partnership with United Yearbook Company. I am a teacher, I am a professional graphic designer, and I am also an author. I write a series of books for National Geographic Learning. It's called the Revealed series, and it's on Adobe products like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the webinar series and what we're planning on doing, and give you something that you can anticipate for our next meeting, which is going to be on September 19th. I want to show you a little bit of my background. As a graphic designer, I've been teaching this is actually my 14th year, and I wanted to show you some examples from my students' artwork. So this is from when I worked at Tabor Academy, and this is from my advanced Photoshop class. We were doing a lot of posters for the theatrical productions at school. And as you can see, it's really remarkable what you can get teenagers to do with Photoshop with the right setup. In this case, those three kids were shot separately, just in normal lighting. They were masked, they were put together. The title was created in Illustrator. And all the lighting you see in the background, the red spotlight and the purple floodlight, all that never existed. All of that was just created in Photoshop. A number of people will say to me when they see my portfolio, okay, come on, tell the truth, you did that. And really, I didn't do any of the work you see here. What I did do with my knowledge is set the kids up to succeed. That might mean helping them with the photo shoot, helping them with the poses, knowing what might go better, helping them choose the photographs, sort of knowing the end at the beginning, which only comes with experience. That's not really teachable, but otherwise, this is kids' work. I'm gonna zip through a couple of other posters for you to see. This was one of my favorites. I love the purple leash that loops its way through the title and through the back of the girl, and then through the letter B, and then down to the dog. Again, this was all student production, all the masking you see, everything. I had 13 kids working on this one poster. Every kid had a little piece. This is me. We had a large format printer, and so these are the posters outside our school theater. You can imagine the theater group loved this. We also branched into sports. So this is a photograph of a student on the cross-country team, and we created this series called Need for Speed. You're supposed to not really see that speedboat that's in the yellow above the word need. It's supposed to come at you sort of as a second read. There's a beautiful basketball poster, and that photo of that student was at a warm-up layup game and taken in a gymnasium. And we dropped out the background, put some floodlights in, and created this awesome poster. This was part of the same series with those floodlights and neon. A lot of our posters were around campus. We also worked a lot with the musical groups. So again, at Tabor, the kids had to wear a jacket and tie every day. So it made for great photography right there. This was taken out of a classroom. There was debris everywhere, as you might imagine. We isolated him, put him on a black background, created a stunning poster. Here's the student who did it. That's his poster, and you can see he was real proud of it. Here's another gorgeous poster. So that's my portfolio. It's my argument for what you can do and what you can make with kids with Photoshop. I want to tell you a little bit about my books just very briefly. These are the four covers of my book. I'm just gonna hit my tab key. I write for National Geographic Learning. It's called the Revealed series. And I've written a book on Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. There's also a fourth book called the Design Collection, and that is a compendium of the other three. It's 7 chapters of Photoshop, 5 of Illustrator, and 6 of InDesign. And there's also a separate integration chapter that's unique to that book. I'm going to stop sharing. Here's a copy of the Photoshop book that I have live. It's a good size. I'm super proud of it. The Photoshop book was always part of the Revealed series, but this is a brand new edition, and it's my edition, and it's one of my favorite things that I've done. Okay, so just a brief bit about the webinar before we begin. My school prints its yearbook with United Yearbook, and we started working together, and we came up with the idea for a webinar series targeted directly toward teachers. I have worked at 4 schools. I've met a number of teachers who teach graphic design, newspaper, yearbook, perhaps even studio art, who want to integrate Adobe products into their work or have to work with Adobe products, and to some degree are struggling or succeeding, but not sure why. I've talked to a number of teachers who say, every time I succeed, I feel like I just lucked into it, or I feel like the kids might know more than I do. These are all real tough things when you're self-taught with Adobe products. So the idea of this seminar series is that it's designed for teachers. It's designed for art teachers, graphic design teachers, studio art teachers who are using Adobe products. You're going to work with me. I'm going to show you some deeper understanding of the programs, how they work, sort of lifting the hood, which will give you a lot more confidence and a lot more, a broader sense of working with the program as you're teaching it, so you can understand sort of the how it works, not just the result. That's the idea. I'm going to jump right in. Today, I'm going to show you a lesson called Understanding Grayscale in Photoshop. Grayscale is an underpinning of the program. And if you don't understand Grayscale, you don't really understand the program. And so this is a perfect example of when you explore it, it's relatively easy to understand, and yet it explains so much. So without further ado, let's jump in. I'm gonna zip over to Photoshop. And here we are, back to my book. I'm gonna close that, it's my last promo. So what I'd like you to think about is grayscale. Grayscale is a range of gray, and that range of gray is from 0 to 255. Let's understand that in a Photoshop image, the entire image is composed of pixels, and each one of those pixels can only be one shade of gray. That is a fundamental understanding that you need for Photoshop. The pixel must be just one, I don't want to say color, I'm going to say shade of gray. Okay? When you understand that it's just one, then you can understand that that one shade must be between 0, which is black, and 255, which is white. It can choose from among 256 shades of gray. Now, you might say, wait a minute, 256 or 255? 256, because in grayscale, we count 0 as a number. So you start counting at 0, and there are actually many reasons for that. Okay, but so grayscale is 256 shades of gray available per pixel. That's the definition. Let's look at that here in this image. I'm going to go and I'm going to open up my, I don't really need my layers panel. I'm going to show you this info panel, which is under your window menu like all other panels. For info, the info panel will read the grayscale values of each pixel. To do that, you have to click this little eyedropper tool. Make sure you're on RGB color. Okay. Be sure you're on the RGB color. And then when you float over, those numbers are your grayscale numbers. I'm going to zoom in to reinforce the idea that we're talking about pixels here. So every pixel is just one of those numbers. 0 being black. So you would expect that as we get into darker shaded pixels, we're getting closer to 0. That's 24, 25, 30. As we get into our middle ranges, the numbers go up. These are mostly dark, although over here I'm in the 200s and the high 180s. And as we get closer to light areas, we get closer to 255. Again, every pixel has a number. So what do we do with that information? Well, computers love numbers, correct? They can run all kinds of algorithms once they're working with numbers. So let's look at that algorithm that we're discussing, or an example of one. I'm going to go to my, I'm going to go to my image menu, adjustments, and I'm going to choose one called threshold. Boom. What has happened? You can understand this instantly if you think about grayscale. The hint is the 128, okay, at the threshold. So 128 threshold means anything 128 or above that used to be 128 or above is now white. And everything 127 or below is now black. That's it. That's how quickly Photoshop can run the numbers. Okay, and the resulting effect is very cool. If I were to move over here, I'm going to put on my glasses. I'm now at 86. So there are now more white pixels. It's not half and half anymore. The threshold is now at 86. So more pixels are white, fewer pixels are black. And you can see the result on the image. If I go in the other direction, it's exactly what you would expect. So now only the pixels 155 and above are white, and so many more pixels 154 and below are black. So this is a very straightforward example of how Photoshop will play with the numbers to create an effect. Let's notch this up a little bit more. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Posterize. Okay, and you'll see here that it says levels 4. And look at the effect on the image. Before, after. I'm going to give you a second. How does it happen? How does the effect happen? The hint is that the levels are 4. You have black, dark gray, light gray, and white. How is Photoshop doing this? It's the same concept as threshold, except this time it's divided by 4. So 256 divided by 4 is 64. So in this image, all the pixels that used to be 0 to 64, they're all black. 65 to 128, they are all dark gray. 129 to 192, light gray. 193 to 255, they're all white. And there's the effect. If I increase the levels, that's 5. And look how fast Photoshop just runs the numbers. 6, 7. I'm not Rain Man, which is an old reference, but I can't divide 256 by 7 in my head. It's 3 something. But I can do 10. So I've got, this is what the image would look like divided into 10 levels. So we know it's 25.6 per level. Let's just say 25. So in this image, pixels that were 0 to 25 are now black. 26 to 50, next dark gray. 51 to 75, next dark gray. 76 to 100, next dark gray, all the way up to 10 levels. Looks good, but you can see it's still stair-stepped. So my question to you is, this is what the image looks like with 10 levels of gray per available, being the key word, per pixel. How many shades do you need to have the illusion of continuous tone, the illusion that this is a smooth transition from black to white? How many levels? This is 10. Doesn't work. Doesn't work at 20 either. I still can't fool your eye. I'm going to go to 64. At 64, you're going to perceive smooth, what we call continuous tone. That's with 64 levels of gray available per pixel. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel, and when I do, we're going to go back out of posterized to grayscale, and that 64 per pixel is going to jump to 256 shades of gray per pixel. You won't see the difference because even at 64, your eye is not distinguishing between 57 and 58, neither is mine. But we're not talking 64, we're talking 256. So there's no way you're going to distinguish a step between those shades. Okay, on a very basic level as well, I'm going to do image adjust brightness and contrast. And I'm going to click this use legacy button because it brings it to the most simple algorithm for brightness contrast. And I'm going to do plus 20. So you see that the image brightens up. Boom, boom. Okay. If you understand grayscale, yes, it's really what you think it is. Whatever the number was before, it is now plus 20. If it was 100, the pixel was 100, it's now 120. If it was 110, it's now 130. If it was 130, it was 150. Makes sense. If I sample, I'm not lying, but I'm not actually telling you the whole truth. If I sample around, you're going to see the numbers aren't exactly 20. So I was fibbing a little bit there. So that's 169 to 187. That's a difference of 18, not 20. Okay, this is 169 to 187. Again, 18. I think if I get in the darker areas, the jump is bigger. So that's 12 to 43. Okay, why is this? It's because Photoshop is not, like I would use the phrase, a chainsaw. It doesn't actually just do 20 across the board. There's a more of a complicated algorithm. So it's going to be closer to that 20 in the center, further on the edges. But the concept is the same. If I'm up 20, I'm up 20. If I go down 20, the image is going to darken and the numbers are going to go down. This whole concept also applies to the tools. So any of your selection tools that are based on what's called tolerance, they're also making selections based on the numbers. I'm going to go to my magic wand tool. I'm going to set my tolerance to 10, and I'm going to click contiguous just because I want to. All right, and I'm going to click and select, make a selection. Now here's what's important. I don't know what pixel I clicked on because it's too tiny. But let's just pretend, for argument's sake, that I clicked on pixel 100. How was this selection made? The tolerance is 10. I clicked on pixel 100. What got selected? What got selected is everything from 100 to 110, but also the other direction, 100 to 90, with a tolerance of 10. So once again, you're seeing that even selection tools are based on this understanding of grayscale. Now you might be asking, there's other 190 to 110 in the image, how come those didn't get selected? It's because I turned on contiguous. If I turn off contiguous, let's pretend I'm clicking that same pixel 100. Now you've got 90 through 110 throughout the image. Okay, so here's the punchline. That's opening up the hood. That's looking under the hood, starting to understand a little bit deeper understanding of the numbers. But we're not here to crunch numbers. We're here to make good graphic design or good graphic arts. Okay, by the way, I'm not a coder, not even close. Okay, but I love to know how the guts of the program work to make me understand. And with my, believe me, limited math skills, I've been able to go pretty far. I'm going to show you some artwork now that we can create based on this understanding. I'm going into color mode, image mode, RGB color. It's still going to look black and white, but I can now apply color. I'm going to my magic wand tool, the same tool I was just on. Okay, and I'm going to sit down just for our argument. I am going to set my tolerance to 0. So that means if I click on pixel 100, all I can click is pixel. All I'm going to select is pixel 100. There's no tolerance. Okay, but I'm going to go and show you this image adjust posterize again. And this time I'll do 5 just because I know it makes a lovely result. So there's 5. Okay, I've got my magic wand set to a 0 tolerance. So if I click on pixel 0, I've selected all the zeros in the image. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to go to a nice blue and to a deep blue, and I'm going to fill that selection with blue. That's a little lighter than I want it to go. I don't want it to X-ray out. And there's a lovely deep blue. Okay, I'm going to next go to my next darkest gray, which is here. I'm going to hide the selection. I'm going to change my color and go to a slightly lighter and fill that. Oops. Wrong key. And then we go there. Next, same selection device, go to the middle gray. I'm going to hide the selection. I'm going to move up into my lighter purple, option delete, and fill the selection. Last but not, second to last actually, but not least, maybe I'll move into a little bit of an orange, and I'll go a little bit brighter. I'm going to hide the selection and fill. And then I'm going to select my whites, and I'm going to move into a nice bright yellow, hide the selection, option delete. And we have something that looks like artwork. And we can explore this and go further with it and build on it and come up perhaps with more complex looks based on this. But what's important is you know how it works. You know on the numbers level how you achieved this. Okay, it's not something we just lucked into. That's a pretty cool piece of artwork. Okay, so I'm going to hit my escape. I hope that you enjoyed that. I'm going to jump back out to me. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope that perhaps you learned something or it deepened your knowledge of something you already knew. Our webinar is on September 19th. Again, it is targeted toward teachers. We're looking to build a community of teachers who meet, get online, and we explore techniques, skills, strategies in Adobe products. We're going to do Photoshop, we're going to do Illustrator, and we'll do InDesign. If we're talking about yearbooks and publications, we're going to be heavy on InDesign. If we're talking more about effects, graphic design, maybe we'll be heavier on Photoshop and Illustrator. For those of you who are publications based, you need Photoshop and Illustrator in your books as much as you need the layout components in InDesign. But we're really planning on giving sort of a broad coverage. I actually want to get to a point where you, who are sort of working with us, can request topics like master pages in InDesign, or reorienting pages, or resolution issues in Photoshop so that my yearbook prints right. I mean, all of this stuff is stuff we can color, we can customize the classes. The first class is going to be on Photoshop because everybody loves Photoshop. And it's going to be a little of what I've already shown you, but a lot more. Okay. The other piece of this is I'm a teacher as well, as I said, and my school is constantly trying to get me to use my professional development hours. And we've set this up to be a bonus in that area as well. We're trying to give you a sense of using your professional development time as something that's directly related to what you do. Again, we're on September 19th. We have 2 classes. The times, there'll be a link that goes with this video and the times, but we're doing an East Coast and a West Coast, or an afternoon and an evening, so we can catch as many people. Again, my name is Chris Botello. I hope you had a good time. And I really look forward to seeing you on September 19th.